Translation: during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. The basic principle of economic development is centered on land and cows. The necessities of human society are food grains, fruits, milk, minerals, clothing, wood, etc. One requires all these items to fulfill the material needs of the body. Certainly, one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. During the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all over the world there were regulated rainfalls. Rainfalls are not in the control of the human being. The heavenly King Indradev is the controller of rains, and he is the servant of the Lord. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains for the horizon. And these rains are the cause of all varieties of production on the land. Not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruits, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there's ample production of valuable stones and pearls. Grains and vegetables are sumptuously fed a man and animals, and a fatty cow delivers enough milk to supply a man sumptuously with vigor and vitality. If there is enough milk, enough grains, enough fruit, enough cotton, enough silk, and enough jewels, then why do the people need cinemas, houses of prostitution, slaughterhouses, etc.? What is the need of an artificial, luxurious life of cinema, cars, radio, flesh, and hotels? Has this civilization produced anything but quarreling individually and nationally? Has this civilization enhanced the cause of equality and fraternity by sending thousands of men into a hellish factory and the war field at the whims of a particular man? It is said here that the cows used to moisten the pasturing land with milk because their milk bags were fatty and the animals were joyful. Do they not require, therefore, proper protection for a joyful life by being fed with a sufficient quantity of grass in the field? Why should man kill cows for their selfish purposes? Why should man not be satisfied with grains, fruit, and milk, which combined together can produce hundreds and thousands of palatable dishes? Why are there slaughterhouses all over the world to kill innocent animals? Maharaj Parikshit, grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthira, while touring his vast kingdom, saw a black man attempting to kill a cow. The king at once arrested the butcher and chastised him sufficiently. Should not a king or executive head protect the lives of the poor animals who are unable to defend themselves? Is this humanity? Are not the animals of a country citizens also? Then why are they allowed to be butchered in organized slaughterhouses? Are these the signs of equality, fraternity, and nonviolence? Therefore, in contrast with the modern, advanced, civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthira's is by far superior to a so-called democracy in which animals are killed and a man less than an animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man. We are all creatures of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said that the Lord himself is the seed-giving father, and material nature is the mother of all living beings in all shapes. Thus, Mother Material Nature has enough foodstuff for animals and for men by the grace of the Father Almighty, Sri Krishna. The human being is the elder brother of all other living beings. He's endowed with intelligence more powerful than animals for realizing the cause of nature and the indications of the Almighty Father. Human civilization should depend on the production of material nature, without artificially attempting economic development to turn the world into a chaos of artificial greed and power only for the purpose of artificial luxuries and sense gratification. This is but the life of dogs and hogs. Kama bhava shapajanya sarva kama tu kamahi. Shishituhu sma vrajan gava payasud aspatir muda. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. Hare Krishna. This is Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha means many things, and this is a very pertinent discussion. It's something that we really need to understand deeply. How actually rotten is this civilization that we are presently living in? Why we need to understand this? To become detached, to understand that there is no happiness here, especially in this age. we are in illusion. We are enamored by all the amenities that this civilization has produced in the form of smartphones and cars. And when Prabhupada wrote this, there was no smartphones. So this has only aggravated the situation. No, but we can use the smartphone for so many nice things. Yes, okay, but we don't need them. Most of the things that we have come to consider as necessities for living, actually they are not necessary. And this is one of the things that Śrīla Prabhupāda, he points out in this wonderful purport, this powerful purport, which just completely destroys the idea behind this modern way of life that we are so accustomed to, all of us, me included. But we should understand that this is not necessarily the best way to live. And yeah, but how can we change it? Good question. Well, it starts here. It starts by understanding that this is not progress, that this is not an advanced civilization. If we don't understand this, if we are also enamored by, this wonderful lifestyle with all of its tantalizing varieties of sense enjoyment, then there's no question of trying to make some changes, at least in our own lives. What can we change? This is the situation all over the world. Well, there is something we can change. But first of all, let us understand how Krishna meant us to live. What kind of human civilization Krishna has indicated in Bhagavad Gita, in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and then we can start to make some changes, however small, but a step in the right direction is good, even if it's only a small step. So sometimes in our ISKCON society, especially in the early days, being enthused by Śrīla Prabhupāda's preaching and example, devotees, they try to make some changes and try to adopt what Prabhupada coined a more simple lifestyle for higher thinking. Simple living, high thinking, that was the slogan that Prabhupada gave us. I came back 1 week ago from a small trip to America, landed in Toronto, and we went to the New Vrindavan for a retreat there. And New Vrindavan was it's in West Virginia, which is also known as the mountain state, because it's basically all mountain. the Allegheny, I think it's pronounced, mountains. It forms like a barrier between the East Coast and the prairies of Midwest, the Mississippi Valley, and it's a pretty remote place, pretty wild place, and devotees they had secured some land there, and they were enthusiastic to try to implement some of the teachings of Śrīla Prabhupāda, which was like what he's saying here in this purport, which was one of the few books that was available at that time. So undoubtedly, some of the devotees, at least, they had read this powerful statement by Śrīla Prabhupāda. So they were enthusiastic to try. So they went there and they settled down in the deep forest and the hills of West Virginia. And they went all the way, you can say. They settled down in a small farmhouse there in the middle of nowhere, and there was no sanitation, no running water. They were serious, and that was a standard for at least a number of years. Later, they acquired more land. They built some more houses there. Among others, they built quite a big structure, which in the bottom, in the ground floor, it was a cow barn. And on top of that, there were living facilities for devotees, still without sanitation or running water. It means they had to go out and take bath. They had to answer the call of nature, and they had some outhouses, so they would go there. And devotees who were around in those times, they were telling how it was very hard times, these early days in Vrindavan. Now it looks quite different. Now it looks like any so-called normal place, with all the modern amenities. But in those days, they were serious, and they really wanted to implement this idea of simple living, high thinking. So one thing is that if we think about it, it's actually people have been living like that for thousands of years, and still are living like that in many parts of the world. The World Health Organization, they have instituted something, it's quite amusing from our point of view, the World Toilet Day. You know about this? The World Toilet Day. Yeah, the reason for this is that what is also known in modern terms as open defecation is a common thing in many parts of the world. Of course, among those places, the villages of India, as those of you who have some Indian background, I'm sure you're well aware of this. Of course, open, it means, you go to what I came to know as the stool field outside the village, or of course, in the big cities, they don't have stool fields, so they just go down out on the street and do their business. Poor people, they still don't manage places. They don't have, this what we consider we take for granted. They don't have these facilities. So, but anyway, my point is that people have been doing this for thousands of years. This modern, technology wasn't invented until maybe a little more than 100 years ago. And even then, it took time. It was at least up until after the Second World War. Even here, it was many people, they lived without these things. When I was a child, we would spend our summer holidays in my mother's maternal home. Her sister still lived there. And in the beginning, there was the toilet means the old-fashioned, toilet with, just a bucket, and you empty it out when it's full. And water, there was a well in the yard. We went there and fetched water, and she had a bucket in the kitchen where we got our water. And I'll tell you one little story, just a little anecdote from those days when I was just a small kid, because my aunt, because it was a deep well, and she was, she was concerned. She didn't want to have the shock of one day opening the lid of the well and finding one of us kids down there. So she strongly admonished us, you have to promise me one thing, you never look into that well. There was a lid, so you had to open the lid. And don't look into the well. And she was very adamant. And of course, childish nature. If somebody says like that, you think, wow, there must be something very interesting down that well. So, I had to, I couldn't resist. So I would go and look down into the well. But one day she caught me. And she came out, running out, grabbed me and put me over the knee and whack, whack, whack. She gave me a good beating, and I was, of course, crying like anything. And that was the last time I learned my lesson. She was a strong lady. So, but anyway, so much for that. And then she still had a well, and it was a common thing in those days. Many places still, but now, because we are so accustomed to this modern lifestyle, we think it's so hard. It's not a hard thing. It's just that we are not accustomed. That's the only problem. And similarly with this whole simple lifestyle, which previously was much more the norm, it's hard for us to change our way of life. And somebody may also ask, should we really do that? Is it really what we have to do? Well, the day may come or will come where we will have to. Just try to understand that this civilization, this lifestyle which we have come to take as a given thing, we would like to believe that it will always continue like that, but it won't. Nothing lasts in this world. And, it's within our memory that this has become the norm. So, it's not a very long-term thing. And it will come to an end. And then what will we do? I think it's wise to think like that. And at least mentally prepare ourselves. And at least what we can do is, even if we still have one foot in this modern world, but we can do something to prepare ourselves so that we could survive if the unthinkable thing happens, that the whole thing collapses. it is actually very fragile, this civilization. It doesn't take much for the whole thing to just break down, and then, of course, chaos will ensue, and many people will die, and are we going to be among them? Or would we like to have some plan B, as they say, when or if that happens? I think it makes sense. And I've been a little bit doing some you may say, experiments in this direction. I was, for some time, some years, I was living in France with my friend Madan Gopal, and we started doing something. Okay, that is a signal. So, okay, just to round it up, it was very useful. I learned something. I learned how to build a small hut basically with materials that could be gathered from nature. I learned how to, get some food out of the ground from the land. And I think we can all do something to prepare ourselves. It's a big topic, and we have to stop here. But on some other time, I could give some more ideas what we can do. We can do something to prepare ourselves and to gradually try to convert, to change our life to a little more simple and happy, actually happy mode of life. It's a happy life. This modern life is not a happy, actually. Hare Krishna.